The snowstorm swept across the high desert like a living creature rolling, growling, swallowing the moonlight whole. It rattled the shutters of the old frontier cabin where Marshal Colton Reeves knelt beside the dying glow of his Christmas Eve fire. This was the kind of night that made a man remember everything he tried to forget, the kind of night that pressed the weight of loss deep into his bones. And for a widowed father like him, the silence of winter wasn't peaceful, it was hollow. Then suddenly the cabin door slammed open. Little Annie Reeves stumbled inside, bundled in snow from her boots to her eyelashes. Her cheeks were cherry red, her breath coming fast, but her eyes, they sparkled with excitement. "Daddy," she cried, "I brought you a Christmas present." Before he could ask, she pointed her tiny glove back toward the swirling white outside. Colton's pulse kicked hard. Christmas gifts weren't something they had out here, not anymore, not since the day Annie's mother died. Still, the urgency in his daughter's voice made him rise at once. He grabbed his lantern and stepped into the deadly cold. Snow whipped across the yard, blurring everything except the lone figure standing near the corral fence. A woman, tall, wrapped in a torn deerskin shawl. Her dark hair crusted with frost, her posture proud but trembling, an Apache woman. Her eyes held exhaustion, fear, and something older than both. Something ancient. And in that instant, Colton understood. Annie had found her out in the storm and, with the pure heart only a child possesses, believed that bringing home someone else who was alone might fix the loneliness in her father's heart. While searching for a pine cone to decorate for him, Annie had come across the woman collapsed near the frozen creek. And instead of fear, she offered her hand. Because Annie saw souls, not sides, and believed every stranger deserved a place at a Christmas fire. Colton approached cautiously, lantern shaking in his glove. In the golden light, he finally saw the truth etched across the woman's face, the kind of grief he knew too well, the kind carved by death. In a soft melodic voice she whispered her name, Naira. He led her inside, wrapped her in a warm quilt, and listened as she told her story. She had traveled alone for days, crossing hostile land and a deadly storm to warn the settlements. Then a vicious outlaw band planned to raid ranches under the cover of Christmas weather. Those same outlaws had burned her village, taken her family, and scattered her tribe, but instead of hiding, she chose to warn others. Colton felt admiration rise in him like a flame. This woman had every reason to give up, and yet she didn't. Then Annie slipped her hand into Naira's and said softly, "Daddy." She was alone like us. The word us hit him like a blow. Because it was true. Since his wife's death, he had become a protector of others and a prisoner of his own heart. Duty kept him moving, but hope had left long ago. Yet somehow, this frozen stranger sitting beside his Christmas fire made the walls around his heart begin to soften. But the moment didn't last. A gunshot cracked through the storm, echoing across the plains. Horses, shouts. The outlaws were here. "They found me," Naira whispered. Colton acted instantly. He locked the doors, doused the lantern, loaded his rifle, and placed himself between the danger and the two souls behind him. Outside, shadows moved through the storm-dark shape circling the cabin. They thought Naira was alone. They thought she was easy prey. They were wrong. Because tonight, she had found shelter with a frontier marshal and a fearless little girl who believed the world could be better. Bullets tore into the cabin walls. Wood splintered. Snow blew in through the cracks. Colton fired back with steady precision. Then Naira rose, her eyes steady, her hands sure. She took Annie's late mother's bow off the wall, the one that had hung untouched for years, and she strung it with the grace of someone who had once lived beside warriors. Side by side, Colton and Naira stood their ground, a marshal and a widow bound by survival, courage, and loss. By the time the sheriff's posse arrived, the outlaws realized they were outmatched and fled into the storm. Silence settled over the land, a safe, grateful silence. When dawn came, the snow shimmered gold beneath the rising sun. Inside the cabin, Annie sat between them, head resting on each of their arms as if she somehow knew the truth. Christmas miracles don't always arrive wrapped in ribbons. Sometimes they arrive wrapped in snow. Colton looked at Naira. She looked back with soft, grateful strength. Something gentle bloomed between them, not romance, Not yet, but the beginning of healing, the first spark of hope in a long, cold time. Annie blinked sleepily and whispered, "Daddy, did you like your present?" Colton pulled her close, his voice thick with emotion. "Darling, it's the best Christmas present I've ever been given." And as the fire crackled warm and bright, the winter outside didn't feel so lonely anymore. Inside that little frontier cabin, something new had begun, something fragile, something beautiful, a reminder that love, courage, and family can return when you least expect them. Even in a Christmas storm, thank you for watching. If this story moved you, please consider liking and subscribing for more tales from the heart of the Old West.